Oh,
There we go. All right. Welcome, everybody. My name is Dr. Tom Pantasis. I'm an instructional designer with the Office of Digital Learning and Innovation. And we are live streaming from the Teaching with Technology Showcase. And we're trying this out for the first time. So sitting next to me, I'll let her introduce herself because that's what we do here in Audley. Go
hi
for
everyone. I'm Madison Steinbrenner. I'm also an instructional designer with Audley. I'm looking forward to talking to some of our participants today. Hopefully we have something good.
I think we have something good. This is one of my favorite events that we do every year because it's a chance to talk in a little more informal setting with a lot of faculty about what they're doing and some of the cool, creative, innovative things that they're handling. So we're going to have a series of guests come join us for just short 5-minute snippets. And I can see the first one walking over here right now. Come on over. So we'll get her settled. She gets to put the headphones on and make sure the microphone's working and all that fun stuff. And we'll ask her, slide around a little here. Yep. So you can kind of see. Yeah. Yep. So the camera's there. You actually want to look at the camera, not the screen. We're so trained to look at the screen these days. We're like, oh, I'm on camera. So, all right.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Laura Pyott, and I am a professor in the math department here at Westchester University, and I teach statistics.
All right. Awesome.
So what is your presentation today? Like, what are you here to talk about?
Yeah. So our students that take our stat courses have to learn how to use the statistical language, programming language called R.
Okay.
And they use that through something called RStudio. And if you've never done any coding, it's very intimidating. It's terrifying. And so I teach a course, a linear modeling course, that tends to be the gateway R course. Many of the students who take this course have never used R before, but they will use it a lot after they get out of my course. So I do definitely have a lot of anxiety from students. So what I did was I built a Google site called R is for Rams. And that Google site is just a hub for them to use. It's not going to teach them how to code. Rather, it's going to walk them through how to install R, how to install RStudio. There are links to videos that show them how to do things that they'll have to do on the first day or the first week, like create a project in R or change the way RStudio looks if they want to change the appearance settings. There's a tab that has what's called cheat sheets. There are cheat sheets that are available on the web that for different packages in R, whether it's data wrangling or graphics. I put all of those cheat sheets in one place so they always know where they are. I'm starting to upload code files that utilize the training data sets in R that do functions and things that we just do with data very commonly, like whether it's linear regression or creating some great graphs, so that the students don't have to write the code from scratch. They can start with a code file and then just modify the code as they need it.
That's one of the things I really love about that and the way that you chose to approach presenting it is that you were like, hey, it's more of like, here's this finished thing that we're going to get to, and we're going to start here, but I'm going to take very like small incremental steps with you to kind of break it down to the point where they're able to build their own version of that, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
My I had a question earlier. Can I learn to code from R from this website? And the answer is absolutely not. This is not teaching you how to code, and that's not really the reason that I built it. The reason was that I see so much anxiety. Really, even just the first day, like, you want me to install this? What do you mean install it? Students don't do that a lot. Their computers come with everything pre-installed. So it's just a way to lower the heat on something that creates a lot of anxiety, that they can kind of get over those first couple of hurdles. It's a living document. It's a living website. I've invited my colleagues in the math department who use R to contribute. What do you want to add? Eventually, we'll have a page that's just errors, the most common errors that you see when you're coding. And, again, and the red error pops up and you're like, oh no, what did I do? So how do we lower the heat? How do we lower the anxiety? Just take a look at here and say, oh, this error means I need to do this. I can fix that easily by myself. I'd also like students to contribute as they get better at coding. What are things that help them? What are things that they want to share with other students? So I imagine that this website will continue to change and evolve over time.
That's awesome. And we're playing with the sound a little bit. If you can't tell, we're getting used to this. This is a big test innovation for us today. And I had a thought. Oh, can you tell us a little bit about where you built the website?
Sure. It's a Google site. So we have at the university with access to Google Sites. I think I didn't follow any instructions or guidance. I just started playing with it. I can't believe how easy it is to build a Google site.
They're pretty user friendly.
Yeah, there's just different templates and options that you can choose. So I just started fooling around with it. And if I had a question, I Googled it and figured it out. So yeah, the last question that I have, and I'm trying to figure out, and I think I can get that question answered. I want to know how many people are clicking. So I need some analytics. I don't know if we can do that.
Sounds like you need some like bit.ly links or something to help track what gets clicked on. At least give you some like what's been clicked type of things.
I'll take some of those. Yeah. Are they giving them out today?
Maybe. I think you can create them for free on a website. Gift bags. Where are the gift bags? All right. Well, Laura, thank you for stopping by for a couple minutes to just share a little bit about what you're doing. And we appreciate that.
Well, thank you for the interest and thank you for this day. And I'm really enjoying myself.
All right. Well, get back to presenting and we'll talk with you soon.
So hi to all my fans all around the world.
We don't have anyone watching at the moment, but that's okay. That's not the point of today. So
thank you.
Yep. I think we need to share this one.
Okay.
So grab it from me if you need it. This seems to be picking up way too much sound. So,
You can sit down.
anyway, yes, our next guest. Sorry, hey, this is what happens when you're live, and I keep looking at the screen instead of the camera like I'm supposed to. But Lindsey Keenan is joining us to talk a little bit about her piece. So this is your microphone. So if you just want to hold that, you can clip it on if you want, but you can hold it too. So in just like 2 minutes, and you can see the little timer right there. In 2 minutes, tell us a little bit about what you're presenting today.
Okay, great. Well, first, thanks for having me.
Thanks
This
for
is really
coming
exciting.
over.
Okay, so myself and two of my colleagues across different departments, actually. So Dr. Rachel Daltrey in the Counseling Center. She's the director of our Counseling Center at Westchester. And Kellyanne Milliner, our Associate Athletic Director. The three of us developed ProMotion, which is a mental health screening platform. And there's our little flyer. So we developed this platform for two reasons. Number one, to solve an issue clinically in sports medicine, as well as number two, to solve an issue in the education of athletic training students in sports medicine. And so the first issue is that athletic trainers have a lot of roles that we play and usually not enough time in the day, except mental health obviously is a huge component of healthcare. And so there are a lot of barriers to screening hundreds of athletes at once if you're using paper and pencil, Google Docs, whatever you might try to use, which I have tried to use all of them in the past. So the three of us got together and we developed ProMotion to streamline the process for healthcare providers to do mass screenings to hundreds of patients or students at once. So really, this is a platform that can be used in education, for entire schools, for organizations and companies, as well as in athletics. So we are using ProMotion clinically. And then, like I mentioned, we're using it in the classroom. So in the classroom, we're using this to facilitate discussion around mental health. So students, in particular for us in my department, athletic training students who are about to become licensed and certified athletic trainers, learn not only how to screen student athletes and patients for mental health, but understanding the symptoms and then how to do a referral to connect them with the appropriate mental health provider.
That sounds really cool.
Awesome.
How did you get the website developed? Like
Yeah.
that always to me is something that seems like, how do you do that? Like you don't have programming skills, right?
No. Yeah, I've now learned way more about coding and app development than I ever thought, and business development than I ever thought I would. That was one of the first questions that we had. We sat down together as a group and said, okay, we want to do this, but how do we do this? And so we just went out and started asking questions. And it took 6.5 years to develop our platform.
It took you 6.5 years to put that together?
6.5 years, yeah. It was a really long process. Also, part of it was because our initial way that we envisioned this platform is different than what it actually became, which is what happens in app and technology development. So it was, development over time, but there were a lot of barriers and bumps in the road. But essentially, we first just put together grants and said, we want to develop this. We need funding to then reach out to a company and put out a request for proposal through Westchester, through the state system, to have a company come in and develop this app with us. Yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah. And so you're clearly using it. I know I talked with you a little bit earlier, using it with students in the classroom to give them some practice and experience with that. Do you have any plans for this to beyond the classroom? Like what are your dreams for this product?
Well, we are really excited because we already are using ProMotion clinically, like I mentioned. So we use this with our student athletes, but we're also using it with 17 other colleges and universities across the US right now. I would love to see it used in other disciplines as well. And I would love to see it at the high school level. That's really where mental health needs to be addressed before they, come to college. So I would love to, kind of see it spread and more clinicians get their hands on easy access to mental health screening. That's the whole idea here, is that, really any healthcare provider can do this. And you don't have to know every single type of survey out there. You just have to know what to do with the results.
So Madison, I think we have a future podcast guest
here. Yeah, definitely.
To help
that
them
would be
with
awesome.
spreading
Have
the
you
word.
on.
So,
I would love that.
yeah.
I would love that.
Awesome.
You'll
All right,
hear
we'll have
from
to get
us.
that scheduled. Yes, you'll definitely
Great.
hear from us.
Great.
Oddly on air for those of you that don't know.
I love it.
All right.
So
Well,
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
so much.
Good luck with
Thank
your
you.
presentation
Thanks.
today, and we'll be in touch.
Wonderful. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Take care.
Is this working okay for you?
Yeah.
Can you hear yourself? Yeah.
I
Don't
was
forget
clipped.
the microphone. All right, our next guest is on the way over. We'll get them settled here. We were having some issues with this microphone, and it was, I think it was trying to be the style that takes all the sound instead of
You can just
directional.
put the
So,
headphones on, and this is your mic.
Yep.
You can hold it or you could clip it.
All right.
whatever you prefer.
don't forget the camera is where everyone's located, not the screen. So we're all looking at the screen. All right, I will let our next guest introduce herself and tell us a little bit about what brought her here today.
Perfect. Hi, everyone. I am Christina Von Colln-Appling. I am a professor in the nursing department. So I have brought my technology here today. I am utilizing the Laerdal SimMan 3G. It is a high fidelity mannequin that has the ability to do numerous physiologic functions along with integrated voice controls so that I have the ability to speak through the mannequin to the students without them visualizing me at all.
It's neat.
Thank you.
So-
So currently I am using that to help prepare junior and senior level nursing students to develop cultural humility and competence for when they get out into practice.
It's awesome. How have the students responded to the dummy?
That is a great question. And a lot of people ask it actually.
I
They-
didn't know that.
Definitely when they walk in for the first time, they realize that it is a mannequin. It's a piece of plastic and rubber.
Yeah, make sure that. Yeah.
And they do appear to be quite nervous that they're not actually talking to a human. Once the simulation begins and they get a bit more comfortable with the process, they do begin to treat it like it's a human.
So it's almost like they have to get over that initial hurdle.
Yeah.
And then they
Absolutely.
get going.
Absolutely.
Okay. And simulation in nursing, I'm going to ask you a broader question now. Like, there's a lot of different ways and styles out there at this point. Is there any that you're particularly excited about or interested in trying?
Absolutely. So actually, my doctoral dissertation was critical thinking among nursing students related to two different modalities of simulation, mannequin and standardized patient, which is a live actor. Live actors, obviously, it's a human. They have the ability to work with a living, breathing patient. However, when we don't have the ability to give the students the opportunity to see specific things in the clinical setting, the mannequin is the next best option. So,
Okay, sounds good. Did you have any questions there?
What have you seen like so far with the dummy? Any interesting stories or?
She's laughing.
I'm guessing there's a good one.
So one of the mannequin that I'm utilizing today is has articulated hips and joints for their arms. So the students are required to do an assessment, which means they have to sit the patient, the simulated patient, up to listen to breath sounds in the front and the back. The mannequins are very heavy, and I had a stronger student who came in and sort of manhandled the mannequin and practically threw the mannequin on the floor. And the students they just didn't know which way to go at that point. They just threw the patient out of the bed onto the floor.
Not something I think you want them doing in real life,
definitely
right?
not. Definitely
learning
not.
Experience. And is it over there now today?
It is not,
you have
just
a
a
video?
video
Okay,
and
awesome.
some handouts regarding the functionality.
There was a surprising amount of things that it could do on that handout list in terms of like the different things that it can
Yes.
simulate as a mannequin.
I have to
Because
go
you
check
think
it out.
mannequin, like it's just a piece of plastic, right? Like,
No, it's actually really neat.
Yeah.
The higher end models, they have the ability to cry, they have the ability to sweat, heart rate, any type of physiologic processing. We can actually trach a patient. I can fill the bladder with simulated urine, and the patient can urinate. It's really neat, the things that these mannequins can do. We can draw blood.
wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting.
Well, thanks for being here today and for presenting, and we wish you luck with your presentation.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yep. Thanks for joining us. Your turn. Okay. I'm gonna try and fix the camera.
All right. So very interesting presentations we've seen so far. I'm hoping to go over there and check some out later on after we finish up this live stream. Oh.
As I'm rubbing the camera the wrong way.
And Jordan, would you like to be on our live stream?
We're gonna add Jordan Schugar in here for just a minute while we wait for our next guest.
There's your headset and your mic.
Hello, everybody.
Okay. There's the camera.
Yes.
Hi, everybody
so
out there.
Please try to look at the camera and not at the screen. I'm gonna work on hiding the screen a little bit more.
So
Sure.
what are you looking forward to see today at the Tech Showcase?
All the great things happening across campus. We often are siloed. I know you guys see a lot more across campus, but for its faculty to see all the great things happening across campus, I'm excited for that for sure. So, do you have any tips so far on where I should start?
At the beginning of the room and work your way around because they're all really good today.
Yeah,
I've
we've
been very
talked
impressed.
to 3 or 4 people, and they've been really interesting so far.
Yeah.
We
Excellent.
already found
All
another guest for Oddly on Air.
So thanks for stopping by. We have our next
Absolutely.
presenter on our way
Thank you.
over here. So
All right, thank you guys.
have a good time.
Yes,
there. That's all right. We're okay with that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, we have no one on the stream at the moment, but that's okay. That's not why we're doing this. I'm already learning lessons like, hey, we should get actual microphones with stands and maybe headsets with microphones instead.
I prefer this. This is actually working okay.
It works all right. All right. Well, take a moment, introduce yourself, and then you've got about 2 minutes to give your spiel about your presentation today.
My spiel. Oh, I'm Dr. Gerry Abdesaken. Hello, everyone. I'm here talking about something that's already built into D2L that faculty can use to improve engagement with students. It's called Intelligent Agents. I was surprised at the number of colleagues who weren't familiar with this tool, but basically it does 2 things. It can send an email to students if the criteria set by a release condition are met. So that can be something like they haven't submitted an assignment or haven't submitted a quiz, or they got a score on an exam that was less than some threshold. So it can do that. It can also email students who haven't logged into the course or logged into the system for a set amount of time, which is kind of helpful more for online courses that are asynchronous. So if a student hasn't logged in for like 14 days, it will send an email to them saying, hey, we're worried about the level of engagement. Maybe we should meet so that we can talk about the course and how it's going. So yeah, it does those two things. I used to do those things manually in the past, and it would take a lot of my time to kind of go through, see, who's in, who's engaged, who's not. But now with agents, I can set it up very quickly and, get that done basically on an automated way.
And forget it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're
exactly.
great. It's a great tip for anyone out there.
Yeah. How many do you have in a regular course now? Like, how many agents do you set up to run in a course for you?
How many agents? I think I have, at the moment, I have about 8 or 9 agents running in my Eco 200 course.
Okay. And are they mostly things like, hey, I haven't been in the course in so long, or like, what are some of the criteria you use?
Yeah, so that's an online asynchronous course.
Okay.
So that is one of the agents that I run. If a student hasn't logged in for 2 weeks, then it sends an email saying, hey, I'm a little worried, why don't we meet and talk? I find that the agent catches that sort of inactivity mostly at the beginning of the semester when students are still kind of getting acclimated to campus. So I don't see a lot of action with that agent at the moment. And then most of the other agents are just simple reminders. There's an exam coming up, right? There's a deadline for a homework assignment coming up, things like that.
So those tend to be just single run style email. The agents, they run on a certain day ahead of an event, and then they don't typically run again, right?
Correct. The only agent that I think I have at the moment that's running periodically is the inactivity agent. Okay. That's the one that's running periodically. But the other ones that are kind of one-off reminders for certain assignments, I have them set to go once, and then it's done.
So we actually use an intelligent agent in the online faculty development program to send out, they're like, hey, you're done. Here's your certificate, and congratulations. And by the way, here's the form you can fill out feedback on. So they're like, we as instructors just don't even have to worry about it. We can mark them as completed in the grade book, and boom, the process works. So definitely a helpful tool to help kind of streamline and be a little more productive as an instructor.
You can get really creative with it. Basically, if there's a release condition that's there in D2L, you can think of something to create an agent behind that release condition that would make sense for you, depending on the kind of course that you're teaching.
Yeah, and they work well too with process type things where it's like, we need you to do A before you do B, before you do C. You can as students finish A, you can release the next set of directions if you need to at that point too. So I could see some definite creative applications as well.
I've done that with the announcements tool in D2L.
Mm-hmm.
When a student has submitted project part 1, then it makes the announcement in D2L that project part 2 guidelines are now available.
Mm-hmm.
But I've also used it, for example, if there are prerequisites for project part 2 that
Mm-hmm.
requires, for example, completion of a module. Then I'll have an agent set up to look up if the student has visited that module or completed that module 2 weeks before that deadline. And if they have not, it'll send out an email, a gentle reminder saying, hey, these modules are prereqs for project part 2. And you really need to go through them to be able to do that part, to complete that part sufficiently. So
that saves you a lot of time and effort looking through everything on there.
Oh, yeah, I never did that in the past. That was something that would have taken way too much time.
Well, thank you for giving us a few minutes of your time here at the presentation and for sharing a little bit about this tool that's been around for a while, but still, as you say, underutilized. Yeah. And we wish you luck in the competition today. And
thank you.
Hopefully you'll walk away with something. We'll see.
And to the 0 viewers out there, thank you for logging in.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Our intent here is more to practice, and we were still capturing these recordings, which we might either use in snippets for a special podcast episode or do little video vignettes for folks. Cool. We'll see. Don't worry, we won't broadcast anything without your permission.
All right, no worries, no worries.
All right, our next guest is on our way, so thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right, so as we transition again, I just want to say that this is a great event and you should consider coming next year. Food, chance to see a lot of people. I know Dean Scott Heinrichs was here earlier, and is always here too, so that's great. All right, so joining us, Vicki, if you want to scooch just a little this way, we get a little cozy, so we're on camera here. And your microphone's right there. If you could take a moment you can hold it if you want. You don't have to come. Yep. Introduce yourself to our folks, who you are, and 2-minute spiel on what your presentation is today.
Okay, hello, my name is Dr. Vicki McGinley, and I'm professor in special education. And so a number of years back, we developed animated cases to train future teachers in what we call hard-to-reach populations. In other words, types of students that they're going to encounter in the classroom, but not as frequent. So, for instance, that the first videos we developed, the animated cases videos, I should say, were working with children with, say, visual impairments and hearing impairments. Subsequently, the Pennsylvania Department of Ed has mandated that all educators, particularly special educators, be trained in trauma-sensitive classrooms. And there's a whole lot of cases out there for clinicians, so for clinical social workers, for doctors, nurses, etc. But there's not a lot for future educators. And so again, children that have been traumatized or are being abused, traumatized, we couldn't find a lot. So we did our work. We wrote a little grant, and we came up with 3 scenarios and developed, using the technology of Go Animate, 3 case-based scenarios for our future educators to take a look at and answer prompting questions around how to become trauma-informed, have a trauma-sensitive classroom, and to work with these individual children. So that's what we've done. We've used them the last 2 semesters, and the feedback is very, very positive. And so come over and see the cases. We'd love to share them and share the technology. Cases are used across many classes, not just in education, and that's it.
Do you have any plans to try to promote or share them more broadly beyond the university here?
The grant we wrote actually asked us to do that. And so we initially have shared them across the College of Ed and Social Work. I believe, could be wrong, don't quote me on this, but Michelle Fisher, who is, as you are, in technology, instructional technology, I believe that they're slated to be placed somewhere else. But yeah, we definitely have no problem sharing them whatsoever.
I'm a big fan of the simulation, the case studies that use the animated videos, because it's an opportunity to kind of engage sometimes some difficult topics or things that might be harder to film in real life, but still have some feeling of reality to them. So I always love when folks are doing that. And the other piece about it that I think can be a lot of fun too, and I don't know if y'all did this or not, but you can get students to do kind of that background research on like what goes into these situations, what do people need to learn, and then like use that to develop the case too. And it sounds like y'all did a lot of research to kind of pull these cases together. So
Yeah, we did.
there's a lot of applicability there. So yeah.
Yes.
I think our next guest is here.
All right.
We have
Okay.
time.
Thank you
Yeah,
for
so
sharing.
Thanks
We
for being
appreciate
here,
it.
and good luck with your presentations
Yeah.
today. And we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I guess I should be muting microphones when they take them off, so we don't
Yeah.
get ugly sounds like, oh, I muted it, so you can't hear it. All right.
You can come over.
All right.
So here's your mic. Your mic is
Yep.
here.
As Madison gets our guests settled
Yep.
there, we're ready for our next one. They're just coming fast and furious here. So vamping is harder than it looks, Madison.
Yeah. So we have our next guest here. Why don't you introduce yourself and give your little spiel on what you're presenting on into our camera right there.
Okay, so my name is Liew, and I come from the Department of Economics and Finance. And the idea that I want to introduce is about how to create the quality audio for the course video. So during the pandemic, we have to create the course videos. At the beginning, I was struggling, especially because of the quality of my audio. Sometimes when I recorded, I made a mistake. Sometimes it needed a lot of editing. Sometimes when you record it, my cat may start to scratch the doors. And then with that voice, and you just put so much effort, you think that this was my final record, and then when the cat starts to say, "Hey, you forgot me," so I had a really hard time to record my voice at the time. So I think, okay, is there any way that we can improve the voice quality, because it's so important for online course. When you are in the classroom, students see you. You can use congestions to have the interaction, but when you use the course video, student cannot see you. All they get is the image you show on the video and the voice they hear on the video. So it makes that voice quality very, very important for the online course, especially for the clarity. So I come up with this idea that using the computer voice instead of my own voice to create a course video. So it's an app called Amazon Poly. It is it's part of the AWS service. So you just type what you want the videos to say, and then it will automatically convert it to the language. And it used the AI. It's AI based, meaning that they use the deep learning to train based on, so many examples, so that it sounds more like a human instead of the voice you hear typically from the customer service.
Yeah.
which is make it more interesting, and so they can not only speak English but also French. I think it can be also beneficial for people who want to learn other languages. So, but to speak of myself, so I just use it to create the course video, and there was definitely no mistake in terms of the voice. So it's a sentence after sentence, super clarity, and I can work. I think I have more time to work on the course video because my location to work is not restricted to, a small tiny room in my house, but I can also create the course video while I was watching the kids or at other places. So this largely increased the flexibility that I can have when I create the course video.
That's a really compelling argument there, in the sense of you don't have to be worried about your recording space and time to find that quiet location and make sure everything's ready. Do you have a sample you can play for us? Because I'll put the microphone up by your computer and we can give it a try here.
Oh, for sure.
I'm really curious to hear how it sounds, so I'm gonna put the microphone over there.
Give me 1 second. This is the videos that I create for Great Depression. Let's see if we can hear it.
The largest financial crisis of the 20th century. It started from the stock market crash of 1929. And 3 years later, the Dow index only retained about 20% of the value before the market crash. Around 40% of the commercial.
That's so I study the cognitive theory of multimedia learning, and one of the components of that is the voice principle, which argues that human voice is preferred over computer voice, but that computer voice, you have to really be paying attention to tell that it's a computerized voice, which is great. And that's a piece, from a theoretical standpoint, that I think is going to lessen in importance as the computers get better at sounding like humans. So I really think this is very forward-leaning, in the sense of I think it has the possibility to really help instructors in the way that you articulate it going forward. So.
Another thing I want to add is that because you use the text to create the course video, you don't worry about the caption, because the caption is just right there. You have the best quality caption. You don't rely on the YouTube to create those captions.
Yeah, and they're not always the best either.
Yeah.
So
What I particularly like too is it's forcing you to think about what do I want to say, and the scripting standpoint, which is a challenge for a lot of faculty who are like, I know this really well. I'm just going to sit down and wing it. And they end up creating videos that are longer than they should be because they haven't taken that extra few seconds. Really, it's not that long to think through, okay, what exactly are we going to say here?
Yeah.
Tom, that's actually consistent with what I observed. I did the comparison. Using my voice to record the video versus the computer, it can save 20% of the video time. Just is that same
awesome.
content.
I love it.
Yeah.
I might need to explore this a little bit.
Yeah, our office could use that.
Yeah. Well, and so some of the work that I do looks at simulation and building simulations. And one of the challenges we run into is trying to find voices for the simulation. And it sounds like there's an opportunity here to potentially do some of that without having to recruit other people. So we appreciate the couple minutes of you sharing today, and good luck with your presentations the rest of the time. And thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for the invitation.
Oh, don't forget your mic.
Yes, we had someone trying to walk away with it already. So
Thank you.
Trying to avoid that.
Hello.
All right, our next guest is coming up. Someone who work with on semi-occasional basis.
a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you can hold it if you want. You don't have to clip it on there. You
All
can,
right,
you can just
sure.
hold it. It's fine. No
Do I
worries.
need to
All right.
speak in like a
Just
the camera.
Just talk to the camera because a lot of people are like, "Oh, my picture."
Oh, you live stream? Oh, hey.
No one's on.
No one yet.
No one's on. Okay.
We didn't advertise. We weren't expecting
Yeah.
anyone.
Yeah.
All right. Introduce yourself and then 2 minutes. Give us your spiel about what brought you out here today.
Sure. Well, I'm Michael D. Giovine. I'm a professor of anthropology here at Westchester University. I'm the director of the Museum of Anthropology and Archaeology, which is located near your offices in Anderson. It's located in Old Library, the building that nobody goes in, and that has the ram out in front. But it's a beautiful building, a historic building. It's a great museum building. And also the director of the Museum Studies program, which is it gives a minor degree. So that's a necessarily interdisciplinary program. We get a lot of students who are, anthro and soc, but also history, lots of history students, communication, art and design. And so we utilize lots of different types of technologies in a lot of the classes, especially in collections management, but also in the curation class, which is the capstone course that they do. And so the Museum of Anthropology has 2 galleries and 2 different student co-curated exhibitions. And, we partner with you in your office, Tom. We partner with Art and Design, who have other technologies and design expertise, really to create a very holistic, I like that term, a nice holistic and interdisciplinary educational pedagogical experience for the students. But also these technologies are used to enhance the experience for visitors as well. So you're giving education to those who are actually utilizing the museum, as well as, the education to the people who are making the exhibits. So it's multifaceted, I would say. I could go, yeah.
So what specifically are you presenting on today?
Well, I would like to thank you for carting over a very heavy touchscreen that we have in the museum that we brought over just to kind of illustrate the types of technology that's available. One of the things which I like to work with you and with Hannah and everyone else is in creating kind of experiences that extend the experience, right? Extended reality, if not virtual reality. Within the museum, we have interactives. They always are good for engaging and capturing visitors' attention. Do you know, Tom, and how long an average person stays and reads a label in an exhibit?
I do not. You're going to tell us, though.
I guess. I'll tell you. What do you think?
3 seconds.
Yes, 3
Really?
seconds.
Okay.
Way to go,
I was
Madison.
going off of what I would do at the museum.
Right, exactly, right?
So,
I do it too, and I'm like, I'm the one who teaches this stuff and writes this stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is too long, but I have to read my own stuff. But, how do you capture, how do you keep people there, keep their attention to read further or to look further? A lot of this is with extended reality things, and they can be simple, such as this touch screen that we have. So right now, for example, in our exhibition Beyond the Bell, Philadelphia's Global Heritage, we have an exhibit on slavery and abolition. And that's probably the rarest artifacts that we have in the whole thing are there. We have, on the one hand, we have shackles from a slave ship in the Middle Passage, but also we have an abolitionist text, one of the oldest around. However, those shackles, they're interesting, right? And they're really important. But then when you couple it with a video that we have on the touchscreen where you can explore a computer-generated slave ship, and you're looking at the authentic artifact and then looking at where they would be placed, that really enhances the experience.
Well, thanks for just a couple minutes.
I didn't get to pitch or to thank you. Of course, we do also virtual exhibitions online, and we work with you a lot with the 3D virtual exhibitions. So.
Well,
we'll do it another time.
Maybe we'll get you back on the podcast
Yeah.
at some point. So anyway,
thank you.
Thank you so much for a few minutes, and good luck with your presentation today.
Yeah,
and,
thanks.
Thanks for joining us. All right, Madison.
we have our next host coming over, our next guest, sorry. So you have your headset and your mic.
And just for recording purposes, I just turned on the board recording to see if that helps us with our sound later. So we're doing lots of experimentation today.
Yes.
Trying out some live stream. No one's actually watching, but it's still a recording that we would be able to use and play with if we want to. So we're the Office of Innovation and we're trying things out. Yep. So, all right, go ahead.
Why don't you give us a little introduction about yourself to our camera right there and a little bit about your spiel, what you're presenting on today.
With the math department, and what I'm here is presenting about H5P activities that I created for my Math 101 classes, and that correspond to the e-textbook that we had also created. So students were going to have to purchase an online homework platform with the e-textbook in order to have practice with the concepts that they were learning. And I just felt that none of the prepackaged programming was something that was going to meet our needs. So I started working with H5P and other courses, and I was like, I want to try to do this for the whole course, but it's going to take time. It's going to have to be something I do over the summer because it's not something I can do during the semester. So last summer I developed activities for 15 weeks worth of classes.
How many activities was it?
I have no idea. I didn't even count them all.
It was a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I never counted them. I don't think I want to know. Everything from interactive videos to drop and drag word activities to drop and drag manipulatives that they could use.
I was showing some examples and showed off the one that was like, which one of these is showing 3 equal parts? Like, and it was just different images and they had to click on which one showed that. And
right.
Went
Yeah.
from there. It's simple things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
But the fun thing is that I used them last semester. Students seem to like it. I have some comments from students saying that they liked it and they found it useful. I like the fact that it's all in one place. Like they just have to go to D2L. They don't have to go outside of D2L. They don't have to purchase anything for equity issues, and that it corresponds better to the course.
I'm doing some research on H5P too, and the students seem to appreciate them. The perspectives that we're getting, it's definitely like, yes, we like these things. So
right.
I'm so excited that you're using them and including them.
Well, and even more fascinating is that I was teaching 2 sections of a course, and other faculty were teaching other sections without using those activities. And my students actually did statistically better on the final exam than those other
Heard it here
students.
first.
Yes. Well, and a little birdie told me that this person's in the running for the finalists today.
Oh.
So we'll see if you rise to the top or not.
So.
And that's another thing that we really like about H5P is they're extremely versatile, not just like your examples in math, but they can be used in so many different disciplines.
And they're not that hard to create. I mean, it's hard to create as many as I did, but individually, they're not that difficult to create.
And once they're built, they're very easy to utilize at that point and to reutilize or to manipulate or copy and tweak. I'm a big H5P supporter, if you can't tell. Big fan. So really glad that Kim had a chance here to come and share what you did with that program.
There's some tweaks, but there's a learning curve. But once you get that learning curve, going back in and utilizing those small tweaks isn't that difficult.
Great. Well, thank you for Thank you for sharing what you're presenting on today. We really appreciate you coming over here. Good luck in the competition. And thank you.
Thank you.
And she's definitely coming on the podcast in the future.
Oh, yes.
We know that's happening.
Oh, yes. If I walked away with it, it probably would.
All right. So this next guest that's coming over here in a minute, he and I have been in the Eagles locker room together. We've been on the Eagles field together, although the Eagles players weren't there at that time. And he needs to scooch in a little closer so he's actually on the camera. Get cozy here.
You're good. And we have your mic right there.
Someone I have taught with, which I can't say that a lot about. So now that I've built this person up, Dr. Adam Rainear from the Department of Communication and Media, because I can read it off his name tag. Give us your 2-minute spiel on what brought you here today.
Yeah. In unconventional wisdom, I eliminated the research paper from my media and culture theory class. The reason for that is because I'm all about students getting practical applications and not only skill sets that they can obviously use out in the workforce, but materials that they're creating here on campus they can take and go and show an employer, a prospective employer of some sort. And this assignment allowed for me to do that because students were working towards contributing to a Wikipedia post of some sort, whether they created it from the ground up or in most circumstances they made a major edit to a Wikipedia page that already existed. And then from there, they can take that because that's always going to live in that space unless somebody comes along and edits it for some specific reason. And then even there, you can track the history of Wikipedia articles and so on and so forth. So Wiki Education is a great resource. They have all kinds of resources on their website for tutorials related to helping the students learn about the back end and the front end process of creating a Wikipedia article and stuff like that. So it was useful. It was a quasi success in that I did it for the first time, and the students appreciated the applicability of the assignment. They didn't appreciate the stress of the situations where I didn't have answers to their questions, like back end technicalities and stuff like that. So
well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but these are out in the world, right?
Yes.
This work that they do then is publicly facing, and it's one of the things that I really love about that particular type of assignment is that we're not doing work just for an instructor audience, an audience of one, which is sometimes what we talk about. And it's work that they could point to, that they could go back to, because that history of their work, that even if it gets revised, is still there for others to see.
Something I even think about, but it came up when I was talking to somebody earlier too, is so many corporate or so many companies, corporations, conglomerates, whatever, they manage a lot of their internal communications on an intranet or a wiki type page. And so that itself is a career for certain people going into HR, going into corporate communication and so on, to know how to be able to run and manage one of those pages. And so that skill set there can translate to that, in addition to the research and the writing and all editing and everything else related.
So you said the students seem to respond positively, except to some of the technical pieces.
Yeah.
Now that it's over, do you feel like there's an opportunity to kind of be corrective with the technical pieces to like perhaps make it better the next time you do it?
Yeah, and I think I push some of the blame on the technical pieces, but certainly a lot of the blame is on me on the front end in thinking about how the assignments are read and interpreted, that if you can guide them the right way with the assignment up front, you can lead to maybe less back-end errors or something like that. And so I discovered after I had kind of gone way too far along in the course that there's a database of like successful courses on Wiki Education you can go to, and you can actually go through and view from the student perspective. And so I could click on an assignment and see how another faculty member somewhere else had altered what Wikipedia gives you to fit their specific assignment, their specific course. And I hadn't thought about a lot of that going in. And now I'm thinking more about on this side of running this experiment. And I think that ability to build in those, even if it's just a paragraph before you actually get to here's what you're going to be technically doing in the assignment, it helps guide students into the right area. And so I think it'll be useful. I think it'll be correctable, definitely.
So it sounds like you have plans to keep doing this going forward.
Yes. Yeah. I told somebody I already will be here next year to showcase what successes work for next year.
And are you going to be using this across...
participant.
Yeah. You're going to be using this across multiple courses then?
Right now, I've kept it to just the theory class. I could see a space where this works in media literacy, but I have some other interactive assignments that already work in that class. And the goal of using this was really eliminating the research paper. It was less about the Wikipedia project. I kind of discovered the Wikipedia project by accident through a listserv and just seeing some tools that were available. It was more about what can I do to get rid of the research paper but still give them those same skill sets. I actually, before the last semester, before I launched this in class, the semester prior to that, I had done an information sheet in place of a research paper, because in media, I think today everything is so condensed, and writing to 10 pages is not really the writing style a lot of us use. It's a one page, what can you tell me in this brief period of time that you have my attention for? And so I thought, well, designing and creating an information sheet, it gives an artistic element, it gives a content element, design element. It still is research-based enough, and it needs to be factual enough that it has some similar artifacts to a research paper. And so I think trying that first allowed me to get away from the research mentality. But I still think this idea of doing it for Wikipedia is more research focused than something like an information sheet.
It's great.
Trying to think, do I have any more questions? I don't think so. It looks like Connor's sending our next guest over. So, Adam, thanks for being here.
Yeah,
Thanks for sharing a little bit.
Absolutely.
Another podcast guest that's joining us here, so we love that.
Awesome.
And good luck with the competition today.
Thank you.
Hope it
I
goes well.
appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Continuing with the trend of faculty that work with me as their instructional designer.
have also been on the podcast.
Yes, and who've been on the podcast. Joining us now, we have Dr. Janneken Smucker, who has like 17 titles at this institution. So I'll let her do the introduction of what her roles are here at Westchester.
Hi guys, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for inviting me to join you for the play-by-play of the great celebration of teaching today.
Yeah.
So we have our camera set up right there. We don't have any viewers right now.
That was not the intent today.
That's all right. I mean, I know the fans are out there.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, and we're, as I've been saying, innovation here. Like we're trying it out. We're seeing how things work together. We've already identified like 17 things we do differently next time.
That's all right. That's how we learn.
Yeah.
Yep.
Stressful.
So, any presentations today that have caught your eye?
Yes. I was talking with Laura Pyott, who is a professor in mathematics, and she's a statistician, and she in general just is a very innovative professor who I've learned so much from and really been inspired by. She showed me this great kind of primer site, sort of resource site that she built in Google Sites. Google Sites is the technology that we got as part of our Google campus. The Google Education Suite, I believe, is the official title. Does that sound close to correct? I mean, I keep wanting to call it Google Classroom because my daughter uses it in middle school, but I think we have like the slightly higher version of that. That is to say, Sites enables you to build a little mini website really easily using external resources and also documents that you can store in Google Drive. And what Laura did is she uses this open source statistical software called R. It's really pretty standard in the field, but it's pretty complicated to learn and involves coding and things that are kind of intimidating to many students upon first exploring them. So Laura developed a Google site. So it's a little mini website with cheat sheets and primers and basic stuff like how to customize your view of R to give it a different color, those sorts of things. Also formulas for how to do different functions. What I really like about it, and I asked her, I said, now, I also use a lot of non-D2L platforms for sharing things with my students, but why do you need this external thing when you could just post these all as resources in D2L? And she said, well, actually, it's not just for my students. Like, I've now shared this with all of my colleagues, so she's not the only statistician here at Westchester. So she's made this a resource that can be shared outside of just the closed D2L environment, where often students are only, paying attention to that course for that semester. And since many of their students are going to use them across lots of classes and with different instructors, so it's a resource that she's shared with her department, essentially.
Well, and another benefit of Sites is you can have multiple authors on the website.
Yes.
So she can bring other experts from her department in to help contribute to the development and maintenance of the site if that's something that matters for them.
Right. And I don't know exactly how she set up the permissions, if it's like just public viewable on the internet. I think that's basically what it looked like to me. But that's the other nice thing. I like things that are public facing, so that students aren't cut off from access when they leave a class, graduate, etc. That they can turn to this as a resource. And when it's something, I teach a lot of kind of complicated technical classes too. I think I might steal that idea to make a little resource site.
So are there any other presentations besides Laura that caught your eye while you were mingling as we wait to find out if we're getting another guest over here?
That was the one who I spent the most time with. I'm kind of floating around a little bit today and getting ready for the second half of our event, which is going to be this great roundtable discussion talking about the future of teaching at Westchester University, which is something I'm particularly excited about is we have this great opportunity as we've been in the midst of transition over the last couple years here to really be thinking forward in a forward-looking way, acknowledging all we've been through as instructors and celebrating that, but really getting to use our imagination to think about what would we love for this place to look like in say 5 years, 10 years in terms of teaching and learning.
It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to it too.
Yeah, and coming here, I think it's 2 weeks away from the anniversary of the COVID announcement.
Oh my God, that's right.
That
yeah.
has really changed the way we think about and look at teaching.
Totally.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited for this afternoon too, mostly because I won't have to be talking all the time.
You planning to do a little listening
Yes,
instead?
yes.
Go
I'm
get
hoping
some
to.
snacks.
Yeah.
If there's any
the snacks
left.
are good. They
There's
are.
a lot.
I'm mostly trying to eat everything single-handedly myself.
Okay, all right. As long as there's a cookie left, that's
There
like
are plenty
the
of
best
cookies,
part
yeah.
of this event.
It's the whole purpose, really.
Yeah, yeah,
Just a way to get Pat Brander to buy us cookies.
yeah. So, do you run a podcast too?
I do. I've been in between seasons. I'm on a little bit longer hiatus, and we pushed it now, thankfully, to April, May. The podcast that I host is called Running Stitch, a QSOS podcast. QSOS is this oral history project with quilt makers that I've been a volunteer on for a lot of years. And we have this massive, around 1,300 oral history interviews that were in an archive, and most of them on old cassette tapes, and then we were able to get them digitized. And so I use this archive of old archival audio, and then sometimes invite a guest who was interviewed a while ago to come back and we listen to clips. Sometimes I invite another quilt expert and I pull clips on a theme related to what we're going to talk about. So it's history, but really connects with living active quilt makers.
It's a little bit more production there in terms of
Yeah,
having to bring
exactly.
clips in, and it's not just sit down and interview. Right?
Totally.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful that I have a great partner as a co-producer who we both work on it, identifying the audio clips, but she does the heavier lifting in terms of splicing everything together. I record my interviews usually from my closet over Zoom. I have good sound in there.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
We do not have great sound in here.
Well, yeah, but I should. I've been thinking since we're back mostly on campus now that I want to maybe do some of those interviews from your great podcasting studio over there in Anderson.
I would say then maybe make a suggestion to our collective boss that the recording booth be removed from that room so that we could turn the room into a recording room instead of a booth that fits 2 people. We can turn it into a room that we can do.
Okay. This is all great. I will do my best.
Yes.
Thank you.
We keep mentioning it and are hoping at some point it becomes a reality.
Okay.
We might be editing that out of the video.
I don't know if we have another guest.
Do you want to ask another question? We've been going for almost an hour now, and
It's pretty impressive.
with
We could
views.
start reviewing the cookies, but you haven't had a chance to really try them all.
No.
So this is part of the problem.
No.
I always really like this tech showcase event because it shows our breadth and depth at Westchester in terms of the sorts of exciting teaching that takes place here all the time. So I always love to see the disciplinary mix. I mean, we've got, Laura, the statistician, Michael, the anthropologist, several people from the business college. I don't even know everyone. I can't hear you, Tom. I can hear myself.
We've
through
got
the,
languages and
through the
cultures.
monitor. We've got,
Let's try that again. All right, my batteries are dead. That's a good thing for us to know too.
that's right. batteries
Languages and
die.
cultures, education, sports medicine,
Yes.
mathematics has 3 people here. Communications, anthropology, you said, nursing is here.
Mhm.
Biochem, I think 2 different business folks. So it is a really wonderful mix. And I would say too, we're experimenting a little bit this year with the time of this event. It's typically in the past been during the finals week, and we've moved it up a little bit. And I think we'll be curious to see if there's any differences in attendance. And I really wish there was a way for us to kind of configure this an event in a way that really got more folks here. And that's
Yeah.
definitely something for us to be thinking about. Like, does it need to happen at the beginning of the semester or at the end of the semester?
It
How do
is
we
so
do it in a
hard
way to
figure it
really
out, yeah.
celebrate?
Mhm.
I mean, that's one of the things I love about this is we're celebrating this teaching from these different faculty, and it would just really be wonderful to celebrate with more people.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's certainly a challenge that we face all over this university is how to plan events that to maximize participation and attendance and reach the people who we really want to reach. This is a busy campus. There's a lot of events going on any given day, and particularly teaching faculty have a. I mean, I can say it. It's a very heavy teaching load, and so even getting teaching faculty who are around to come over for half an hour can be hard on a day like
We
today.
appreciate it.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us.
Hey, it's always
thanks.
a pleasure.
Thanks
Thank you for
coming.
inviting me.
Yeah, no problem. And enjoy the rest of the event today, and especially the food.
Yeah.
You too.
Our next guest likes to describe himself as ruggedly handsome. That you can decide for yourself. So joining us now is our esteemed colleague, a award-winning author, which he reminded me of yesterday. And it's so easy to forget, but he's an award-winning author, and it's pretty freaking awesome. So Marc Drumm, senior instructional designer from our office, welcome.
I still don't know how that happened. Somebody ever does a recount, I think I'm in trouble.
We could get like a digital signature.
Yeah.
So what's caught your eye today?
So I haven't had a chance to get through everybody today, but there's a lot of really cool stuff, I have to say. I'm really impressed with, first of all, with Kim Johnson's, and I have to preface that by saying I'm sort of semi-involved with that in a certain sense, but she created a lot of H5P activities to go along with an e-textbook that a couple of people in the math department, Emily Miller and Brian Bowen, had created. And the great thing about that, the combination of those two things, the e-textbook and all of these H5P activities that she's created, allowed them to get rid of their textbook and their the third-party tool that they use, the online tool that they use to do homework and whatnot. And that cost the students something like, I think she was saying like $80 or something like that. So that eliminated that cost for the students. And they used it for the very first time this past fall. And she said they had phenomenal results. I mean, the students really liked it. Grades had improved.
Statistically significant difference.
Statistically,
awesome.
I can't even say it. I'm so excited. So it was that was a good result. I like let's see who else. I really like what Liew is doing. So he was having trouble. He made a lot of videos for his courses, but he was talking about how especially during the pandemic he was home. And, the kids are there and they're making noise and the cat's scratching on the door and everything like that. And it's hard to record his voice over these videos or whatnot. So he found this really neat Amazon tool that allowed him to, he would input the text of what was being spoken in the videos, and the Amazon would create a voice over for him, and that also allowed him to do some open captioning on the videos as well. And so that's really improved his videos, and the voice is very realistic and understandable and everything like that. So that's really good. The one person who I've not had a chance to go see yet, but I looked at her website before. So this is Laura, I believe, is Pyott. How do you say your last name?
Laura Pyott.
Pyott. She's also in the math department. She created a website for students who are learning the programming language R, and which is a super hot topic right now. It seems like faculty in all sorts of departments everywhere are using R for all sorts of things. And so what she wants to do is she wanted to create a site specifically for Westchester students who are learning R, and to have all these resources for them. But not only that, but to connect with other faculty who are also using R in their courses. And so she's kind of trying to, not only she's providing resources, she's trying to kind of build this community in Westchester of R users and supporters and students and things like that. So so I think that's really cool. And I looked at the site before, but I can't wait to go over and talk to her about it and see what she's, planning for this.
That one has been a big hit today.
Yes. There's always, anytime I've tried to go over there's always been a line.
So
I haven't been able to talk to her
would
about
say
that.
in terms of the Judge's Choice Award winner, it's definitely a competition between Kim Johnson's H5P and Laura Pyott's R. I think are the two that are definitely like up there in the front runner slots right now. So
I'm not surprised to hear that.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for being a guest and coming on over and giving us your expertise.
It's
I have
my
one
pleasure.
more important question.
Yes.
Best cookie in the spread today?
You're really putting me on the spot here because the answer I'm going to give is very controversial.
It is. That's why
I am very partial to oatmeal raisin cookies. And that I've taken a lot of flack in the office for that in the past. And everybody's like, what about chocolate chip? And I love chocolate chip cookies too, okay? I have never met a chocolate chip cookie I didn't like, but I'm also a huge fan of oatmeal raisin. And so I have to stick with it.
Madison, do you have a preference here?
I'm usually not an oatmeal raisin person, and I tried them today, and they are excellent.
They're really good.
Oh, I'm being outvoted here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The brownies though are good too.
Yeah.
So
I'm definitely the chocolate chip guy, but maybe I'll try an oatmeal raisin today just for
give
you,
it a
sir.
shot.
The thing I'm really actually kind of excited about is it looks like there's going to be a lot of them left over. So I think we're all going to be eating these over the next week.
Snacks in the office
in the office. So I'm looking forward to that.
All right.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
I think Maria Van Liew is our last one.
Do you want me to go?
Sure.
I'll go grab her. Yep.
And I would love to get Naomie on for 5 minutes if you can convince her.
Okay. Well, they're both standing over there together.
We
So
have a viewer at the moment, so that's awesome.
do we have a viewer?
I just want to say hi and thanks for checking us out. I'm going to see if it tells me who's here. I don't know if it does that. No. All right. Well, whoever you are, single viewer, we're excited that you're here. And we're almost done. Oh, with 2 viewers.
Oh my gosh, they're multiplying. Now, as soon as I say I'm leaving, everybody starts coming on. That's
all right.
I see how this works. Okay.
So while we're in the switch out here, just want to let folks know that we've been live streaming our Teaching with Technology showcase today, which the Office of Digital Learning and Innovation has put on along with, hi, Dr. Murkich. Thanks for joining us. This is the first part of a 2-part series on the celebrating teaching here at Westchester. This afternoon, we're going to have some forums, some discussions around innovative teaching, which Janneken was alluding to a few minutes ago. And this is the first time our office is live streaming at this event, really just to try it out, to see what it's like, to learn that we need way better microphone setups. And the lighting is not great, and we probably should get a better camera, but this is all good for us to learn so that we can make a reasoned argument for some slightly better additional equipment so that we can go out to events and places and sit down and do interviews with folks in a little bit more direct and portable format. And I've now talked a while, so I'm going to turn it over to Madison and let her say something.
All right. Thank you for joining us, Mark.
You're welcome, and I will go grab the next people.
Okay. All right.
Don't forget your microphone.
Yeah.
You're not the first one.
That would be
Can you
bad.
tell that that's been a trend today?
That would be bad.
That people keep trying to walk away with our microphones still attached. So, there's been a lot of great presentations today. I've been really excited about what we've seen and heard.
We have some clear front runners.
Yes.
Some big hits in the crowd.
Okay.
We actually had, who did we have that had an entire line to view her presentation?
That was Dr. Laura Pyott's website on R, which she's made available. We've heard a few different people have talked about that today. I would say that I know in our office, Kim Johnson with her H5P. She's built a lot of H5P interactive activities, and I know Dr. Merkich is a big fan of those for her e-textbook and for her math class, and has a statistically significant, I'm really excited about that difference between her course that used them and other similar courses that did not use them. So that's really exciting. One of our colleagues is walking over here. Does she want to jump on while we wait for our next guest?
Would you like to join us?
We're live streaming, and we actually have people on the stream at the moment. So, okay, well, that's fine.
So we have our next guest.
This is Jes Drass, our learning technologist. And let me make sure your microphone's on.
camera.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Talk to the camera.
Hey everyone. How's it going? Oh, here's Naomie.
Going pretty
though.
well.
She can...
All right, we might be getting Naomie on here. Yeah. All right. So, bye, Jess.
I didn't have anything to say except hi.
All right,
So
well, all right. So our supervisor, who is relatively new here to the institution, and I think at least I can say I've been excited that she's here, is going to join us just for a couple minutes to give her perspectives on today, since this is her first one.
Yeah.
Her
Very first
showcase here.
My very first showcase
Yes.
it is.
So the camera's right there, and we actually have two people, one of whom is Dr. Shannon Merkich, watching us right now. So
hello. Hi, Shannon. Who's the other person?
No idea.
Hello, other person.
We're so glad you're here, though.
We are so glad you're here.
So what are your impressions of today? Just this being your first time at the event.
I am inspired and energized. Lots of really cool stuff happening. This is a wonderful event. I wish more people were here. Really inspiring, the stuff that people are doing in the classrooms, and the creative ways that people are using technology. Like, we have so many people here, and it's not the same stuff. Like, so it's 13. I think we have 13 people. 12.
I think it's 12. We had one with sickness, and
we have 12
that,
people, and so 12 very different ideas. So yeah, very exciting. I'm sorry for everyone who's missing it.
Yeah. Hopefully next year we can get some more traction, get some more people here.
Yeah. Well, and as we said a few minutes ago, this is a little bit of, we're doing a little test this year. We're trying a different time to see how things go from what we've done in the past.
Yeah.
And we'll have some data, and we can make some decisions off of that.
Yep.
So
One of the things I'm thinking about is there a way that we could share so much of this in other ways? Like, are there other platforms that we can share?
perhaps like a recording of people talking about their
Like
presentation.
a podcast. Yes.
Yes.
Perhaps something of that
We
sort.
did actually pick up some
A new guest.
Yeah, someone
already.
that we want to have on already.
Very good. Very good.
Yeah. Are there any that have kind of like stuck out to you today that you're like, wow, like that just like on a personal level, that's pretty incredible? I mean, I know you love them all. I know.
I love them all. So this is a really hard question because I love them all. One that stuck out to me was the simulation that's being used in nursing, and how they are using this SimMan 3 to help students improve their cultural sensitivity. So it was just really interesting how they're using it for that.
Yeah.
I could see how they will use it to help people, draw blood and things of that sort. But for cultural sensitivity, it's really creative what they're doing with SimMan.
Yeah. That creativity piece is one that I really like. And Dr. Rainear is currently taking a picture of us.
Yes, I don't know what's up with that.
I don't either, but that's okay.
We have so many fans out there today.
Yes.
All two of them.
Oh,
That's
someone
all right.
else is taking it.
Yeah.
Hi, Esther.
So I will say, having done the live stream for an hour and 15 minutes now, we have learned we need better microphones, better camera, and but otherwise, I think it's gone pretty well today.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
It's been a really fun way to get quick little hits from almost all of our participants.
Yeah.
To just kind of get them to tell their story in a real short piece, and we'll be curious to see what it sounds like, and if we can turn it into maybe some podcast episodes or some little short recordings. So we
absolutely.
have some future work in front of us.
Yes. And Shannon, thank you for joining the live stream.
She'll probably text me in like 30 seconds to say you're welcome.
And the other person,
Yeah.
whoever you happen to be.
Yes,
Our mystery guest.
Yes.
Let us know.
We appreciate you, mystery
Yep,
guest.
there we go. We got some hearts. So, well, thanks for stopping by for a few minutes.
It was my pleasure. Who's sitting in the hot seat now?
I don't know. You can ask some folks over at that table if they want to jump on for a minute. And I know
All right.
Maria Van Loo is still on her way over here. But thank you.
Goodbye, everybody.
Yes, thanks.
Thank you.
So we enjoy experimenting and trying new things, and sometimes they work, and sometimes they need a little tweaking to work, and sometimes they fail spectacularly. So, Madison, what do you think? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking that it went better. Our live stream has gone better than I expected it to. I feel like I could be on ESPN now.
Well, we always joke that you have a good podcasting voice, so maybe you have a presenting voice. I will say, I have a better understanding of what goes into a lot of this, and let that be a articulation for trying some new things.
Yeah.
It's a good way to learn more about them. So we have another guest, a different guest. We'll let him get settled in here, and we'll let him introduce himself. But he is a new faculty who's participating in this event. He's new to Westchester, and we're glad he's here. So take a moment, talk to the camera, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about what brought you to the event today.
Yeah, so I'm Tom Kwiatkowski. I'm new faculty in the chemistry department. I teach the biochemistry curriculum. And what I did was I implemented a virtual reality protein structure lab for the Biochem 1 course. Basically, the students would put on the virtual reality goggles, and then they would basically download a series of proteins, and they would go through a set of modules to see how the structure of the protein facilitates its function. So, for example, what we did for one was to download the COVID main protease, and we would see how the protein that facilitates the replication of the COVID virus, how that enzyme functions. So the students would download the protein, go inside it, and they would see how the substrate binds to the binding pocket, what interactions are taking place, how you can inhibit the enzyme in different ways. And they just go through a series of different other proteins to get a new perspective of how proteins function.
Madison, do you understand anything he just said?
No.
That's okay.
So I was in the session with Tom when he was doing it with the students, and one of the students was having a very normal reaction that sometimes, like they get nauseous if you're in the headset, especially folks that get very motion sick easily. That has happened to me, yeah. So I was like, I'll put the headset on. You can see what's going on the iPad. You tell me what to do. And I got in there and I was like, I have no idea what any of this means. But the student was able to say, all right, go here, do this, do that. Yeah. I appreciated that because they were able to kind of take on that leadership role in that moment, even though they weren't able to experience it in quite the same way that I think you were hoping for. So, and I might have learned a thing or two.
Have you gotten feedback from students?
Yeah, I had a little informal survey. The course had 18 students, and about 12 of them responded. And I asked them, did you like the lab and did you learn from the lab on a scale of 1 to 10? And the average was around a 9 for both. Okay. So overall, it seemed like it was pretty favorable. And now that we've kind of worked out the issues, we can re-implement it and kind of get it even more kind of ironed out all the problems.
And we were running a demo, like a pilot, a beta, the free version. That's the word I was looking for. The free version from the software. And they do have a paid setup that will hopefully help us out a little bit more as well, too, that we're definitely exploring. And it's not... For VR, it's actually a really cheap license. So I was really excited to see that and hoping that we can find a way to get some funds so that you can do more with that in the future.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity. I mean, it's very visual, especially for biochem. It's a very visual thing. So if you can get in there and see everything from a three-dimensional space, I think it changes their perspective quite a lot.
And having put the headset on myself, you can manipulate the sizing of the molecule and really walk around it and interact with it. And it does give you that representation in a way that you're not going to get from any other sort of educational material. I mean, yes, you could do a little bit of that on the computer, but that ability to be fully immersed in it, I think is really valuable.
Yeah.
And one of our current only watcher says it sounds really cool.
Well, thank you, current watcher.
Thank you, Dr. Merkic. And I'm guessing our other person might have been Professor Tom Elmer.
Okay.
Who's an adjunct in marketing, but I could be wrong. So I'm sorry if I am. But anyway, do you have any questions for Tom?
It sounds very interesting, coming from someone that knows
Yeah.
absolutely nothing about, chem and all of that. It sounds, something that I can't even wrap my head around. It's always been like a challenging subject. So I think coming in, like even someone like me would find that like really helpful, like trying to wrap my mind around like all the structures and everything.
So tell us a little bit about how you kind of got to that point of saying like, hey, I could do this with students, right? Because doing a VR activity is not like a typical thing that I think a lot of faculty are doing or thinking about. So how did you get to that point of like, I can do this with students?
Well, one is that I kind of discovered the software just on accident, like on Reddit. And I was like, oh, actually, that looks kind of cool. And I had a headset at home that I play around with video games. So I just, it's not like a sandbox. So you just download it and you see how it goes. And I was playing around like, this is actually really fun. And, like, I'm enjoying this. Yeah. Like, I think students can get down with this as well. So that's kind of happened. And then it just by coincidence, hey, Westchester has 18 headsets. I'm like, perfect. That's just the number we need for the class. So I'm like, let's give it a go. I mean, the goal, sure, was to help students learn about the proteins, but it's also to make them excited about the topic and to like really engage with the material that they've never had before. So, and most of the students have never done VR before. Yeah. So this was a great time to even get exposure to this new type of technology, which is only going to grow after this.
And with the growth of AI tools and VR, there is definitely going to be an explosion in that space. So the more we can even give students just a little taste of some of those different pieces, the better prepared we will have them for the 30, 40-year careers that are upcoming. Yeah.
Exactly.
So I had a person that used to say, 4 years to prepare you for 40. So Tom, thanks so much for joining us and sharing just a little bit. We have, I think, our last presenter guest on the way here, but good luck in the competition and enjoy the rest of your time.
Well, thank you. Thanks, everyone.
All right, so our next guest is yet another faculty member who works with me, and one I've worked with for a long time, who's been here at Westchester for a while now as well. A while? Yes, a while. That's a sweet way to put it. Yeah, it's hey, I try to be kind around here. We have one person watching who I think is Dr. Shannon Murkich, so you can say hi if you want.
Hi.
But this is Dr. Maria Van Liew from Languages and Cultures, and Maria, tell us a little bit about what brought you here today.
Oh, well, I've attended this event in the past and got very excited about what I was seeing. And, when a colleague explains to you very clearly, which I was attempting to do today with my project, how they apply the digital humanities in the classroom or for a project, it's inspiring. And so I knew that eventually I was going to get to this place after working with Tom on this digital mapping project that I was inspired to do when I went to a digital humanities workshop, actually in Texas, at a conference. And I got really excited about mapping as a way to visualize and help the students visualize the abstract. So I have a concepts and methods course called Comparative Cultural Studies. And the students have a final project, of course, and it's supposed to be an original project. But it's also a course that is cohort building because it's all different major language tracks, but it's taught in English. So there's a collective feel to the discussions where we're using English as the base language. But then I'm trying to show them how to not think that Frenchness only exists in France or in something that is exported from France, or Spanishness or Mexicanness or Americanness. And so we're trying to dissect that. And then I thought it would be fun because it gets kind of messy, the concept, as they're working through the semester with the same outline, but with different assignments. So there's this thread of what, when, who, where, and the concepts to map that. And I show at the beginning of the semester the students a Google map. And now I have a couple layers to it because Tom taught me how to do that. And also very wisely recommended that I use Google Maps instead of some fancy mapping tool that I could have bought, because then I have to teach the students how to use it. And so all we have to do is collect coordinates, information, and students can do up to 3 bubbles. And I wish I could show you, but basically, you know how Google Maps shows you a little icon and then you click on it and you can see perhaps a photo or any information that will come up. And I didn't realize, and maybe the students didn't realize, that they can create their own informative bubbles. And looking at it collectively in a class of 15, 20 people is fascinating, because then you find like someone who's a French major and her project it brings us over to Syria. And a person who's talking about a Spanish nun also is talking about a point in Mexico, because that used to be part of the Spanish Empire. So then in terms of time and place, it all gets mappable, and it's kind of flat and looks very cool. And then so you can kind of go in and out with that. So it creates a great final discussion.
So one of the things that I love about this project too, since it is Google Maps and you can build layers, like multiple layers, is you can have a layer for each semester that you run the class.
Absolutely.
And so it becomes this like collaborative piece that goes beyond that course and allows students to like draw on some expertise and learning from others that aren't even necessarily a part of that particular course or section.
And it helps me collect data, essentially, on what the students are doing, what they're capable of. And I have this little thing that I'm working on where I'm going to keep trying to get the map to expand out beyond the traditional borders of, Europeanness and Latin Americanness. And because, migratory aspects come up a lot in this class. And so it's very exciting.
Well, thanks for coming over and giving us just a little taste, and good luck with the rest of your time here. And thanks for being a participant. We appreciate you sharing just a few minutes of your
It would have been impossible without you, Tom. And I don't know your name.
I'm Madison.
Madison.
Madison's one of our other instructional designers in the office. So.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
All right, Madison, I think we've reached the end here.
Yes.
It's 3 minutes to 1 when we're going to switch over to the reception. Any closing thoughts on today's experience?
I think it's been really interesting. We've seen so many different projects and so many different subject matters. It's been a great time.
Yeah, I want to say just sitting here and hearing these quick little snippets for the last hour and a half has been really a lot of fun. And I think we need to think about how we can do this in other capacities, in other ways. And obviously, hopefully convince our boss to buy us some new equipment to help make it run a little smoother. But we want to thank you for watching. If you watch this live or if you come back and watch the recording, and we appreciate the faculty that we get to work with in the really creative and innovative ways that they are teaching and supporting the success of the students here at Westchester. So we're going to sign off and wish you a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.